Welcome to Sound Moves, everyone. Paul Graf here with RE/MAX Elite Brokers in Snohomish. This is my podcast about real estate in the Puget Sound region, sound advice for your life. This happens to be my video series where I interview referral partners around the country. If you are planning a move this year and need to connect with a great agent, you should be able to find that person on one of these videos on this YouTube channel. Today, though, I get to introduce you to myself and Seattle, the greater Seattle area at least, where I live and work. So I've been in real estate for 9 years. I serve in the greater Seattle area, which is part of the Puget Sound region. That's where the name of this podcast comes from, people moving around the sound and also sound advice, right? I've been in the Seattle area since 1992, and I've lived in Kirkland, Redmond, and Monroe. I moved out to Monroe, which is about 30 miles northeast of Seattle in April of 2005, when my wife and I bought a house out here. I've worked in a variety of jobs: manufacturing, retail, logistics, and real estate. I got started in real estate for self-discovery back in 2013, kind of a midlife crisis, but absolutely love the work I do. I work primarily in Snohomish, King, and Pierce counties, which are the three largest counties in Washington state. But for the right client, I will travel further. I have clients as far south as Mount St. Helens and as far north as Stanwood and Camino Island. I also love heading out to Whidbey Island. I've got clients looking out there currently and love going out to the peninsula also. I've been with RE/MAX for most of my real estate career, for 7.5 years. Absolutely love the culture at both RE/MAX Legacy, where I started with RE/MAX, and then RE/MAX Elite, where I currently hang my license. One thing that's kind of unique about me in the real estate field is I work both residential and commercial. There's not a lot of agents that do both sides of that, but I do. I love working with people or businesses in transition. It's a stressful time for all involved. I want to be a part of making that stress disappear and the transactions go smoothly. I especially enjoy working with entrepreneurial types of small business owners in finding the right size space for their business. My smallest deal to date was a $40,000 vacant land listing, and my largest deal to date was a $3 million waterfront home purchase. I love living in this area of the country. I like the fact that I can go an hour west and be at the water of the Puget Sound, or travel an hour east and be in the Cascade Mountains. We're only 100 miles from Canada, just over 200 miles from Portland, Oregon, and just under 300 miles from Spokane. Some of my favorite places in Washington are Mount St. Helens. It's so cool to go there and see how that place is built up after the eruption in 1980 and how quickly that stuff all transpired, right? That was kind of fun. Some other places I love around here is the peninsula. There's a rainforest out there, which not a lot of places can claim a rainforest, right? So that's kind of unique to our state as well. I also love the waterfront in Seattle or Everett. Those are nice places to hang out. And then the rivers and lakes around the area, which we have an abundance of. Some of my favorite communities, though, Mukilteo, Kirkland, and Bothell. So I love spending time out there. It does rain a lot here, so if you're planning to move out here and are not familiar with that, just be aware of it, okay? There are many days of overcast skies as well. I happen to suffer from seasonal affective disorder, and sometimes during the fall and winter, the weather really gets to me. But we have a fairly mild climate, all told, being so close to the water, right? We have lots of hills and rivers and lakes and mountains too, which helps with the climate. That also limits our ability to build wide highways in places like they have in Texas, right? So we do have issues with traffic congestion, which can be a problem as well. I mean, we're doing things with the light rail and stuff like that to get people to places a lot faster, but this takes time and costs money. So there's lots of things to do here, though. Another reason why I love being here. We have plenty of opportunity for work with major employers like Boeing, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Costco, PACCAR, Weyerhaeuser, Nordstrom, Alaska Airlines, Expedia, T-Mobile, etc. The list goes on, right? There are a lot of options for living arrangements, though, too. This is not an inexpensive area to live in, though. Home prices are high out here and only projected to move up in the future. Right? This is due to the good pay at the aforementioned companies and the desire to live in a mild climate with many outdoor activity options. Some of the many options available to people are hiking, boating, kite surfing, or clamming. For places to see, there's also the Space Needle, of course, which is world famous, and Pike Place Market. MoPop, the Museum of Popular Music, is a fascinating place to tour as well. Pacific Science Center is also a great place to go. They have a lot of cool exhibits that come through there. And always the laser light show at Pacific Science Center too, which is fun. For some of the natural things, the many forests, I mentioned the rainforest earlier on the peninsula. If you're a mountain climber, there's a lot of stuff like that to do. And of course, many of the mountains we have here are actually volcanoes, right? You got Mount St. Helens, Rainier, and Baker, which are all volcanic. Should medical be a reason for moving, though, or should you need those services? We have a lot of great options out here, including Harborview, which is a world-renowned trauma center, and also a children's hospital. I know not every community has something like that. We had to take advantage of that actually with our youngest about 15 years ago. So should you be in a position where that is something necessary, just know that that stuff is available to you in this area. For sports, I know that's a big thing with a lot of people. Of course, people know about the Seahawks and the Mariners and the Kraken for football, baseball, and hockey, but we also have some great minor league sports teams. Everett Silvertips and Seattle Thunderbirds for hockey, and Everett Aqua Sox for baseball, and the Tacoma Rainiers. There's a lot of opportunity to gather with the community and celebrate through sports and things like that out here. For the city I live in Monroe, it's about 18,000 people. And I love the parks and waterways that cut through Monroe. It's a very kind of peaceful town to live in. It's last main city before heading over the mountains into eastern Washington on State Road 2. And an interesting thing about Monroe, if you look at it from an aerial perspective, it kind of looks like an arrowhead with Highway 2 coming in from the north west and heading southeast, Main Street going from the southwest and heading northeast, and then Frylands Boulevard on the west side, which just runs straight north-south. It's kind of a cool little image. So I encourage you to check that out on a map. And then one other thing to know about Monroe, we have 23 trains a day, which is almost 1 an hour. That takes some getting used to when you move out here. But there's still ways around when the trains come through. Okay, we have many of the same amenities you'll find in a larger city too, because of our prominence to the mountain pass, right? Being the last major city, we've got a lot of different things that you wouldn't necessarily find in some smaller towns. So if you're considering to move to Washington, just as anywhere in the country, know what the market is and what the homes cost. Okay, if you need a real estate agent to connect with, I've got a referral for you. Just let me know. I'll get you connected. Weigh your options. If you can work remotely, that could save you a lot of money in where you choose to live. I had a client a couple of years ago who only needed to be in the office 1 day a month. Okay, they had a lot of flexibility with where they could move. They could buy something with a nice home and a very large shop on a good piece of property, and he only needed to make the commute 1 time a month. So that gives up a lot of freedom for you, right? If you need a lender, I got a lot of great options out here. They all offer some slightly different programs. So if the first one doesn't work out for you super well, let me know. I can get you connected to someone else who can probably help. As far as how I tend to run my business, I follow the Brian Buffini program of business coaching. Brian Buffini is world famous for his coaching program. He was a very successful real estate agent when he was practicing real estate. What that looks like, I deliver a lot of small gifts to past and present clients and others in my database on a monthly basis. I send out cards. I send out market updates, either in mailers or through videos. For client appreciation parties, I've done things like hockey games, events where we pot plants, pie giveaways, open houses, pizza parties, etc. I love connecting with people, and I love hanging out with people and just talking about life in real estate. I especially like meeting up one-on-one with people through coffee, typically, or a meal, and try to do a few of those a week. Outside of real estate, I like to read, travel, and play games. I enjoy sports too. Prefer watching games live versus on TV, but I do track a lot of stuff online. And then I also volunteer quite a bit at my church. And part of the travel thing I love, I've been able to take a few mission trips recently with my church to other areas of the country, or other areas of the world, honestly, which I just love. So as far as my favorites, well, typically I look for books, but I have almost any book by Malcolm Gladwell, who's a fantastic speaker. I got to hear him at the Dave Ramsey EntreLeadership Summit in 2023. Patrick Lencioni, he was also at the Dave Ramsey Leadership Summit in 2023. He's a fantastic business mentor and consultant. He has a great number of books. Some of my favorites that he's written are The Advantage, and then another one with a very fun title, Getting Naked. It's Not What You Think. Okay. The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Of course, Dave Ramsey, EntreLeadership. I mentioned his event recently. And then also some books. Biographies I love too. But when I was working at Genie Industries, we were studying lean manufacturing. There were a couple of books there that had a huge impact on me too. Putting 5S to Work, which is stuff you can take outside of manufacturing, and then The Machine That Changed the World. So for movies, I enjoy watching movies. Pure Luck is a funny one, which is kind of obscure. That came out in 1991 with Martin Short and Danny Glover. That's just a fun one we watch quite often. The Princess Bride, of course. Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, the Jason Bourne movies, Mission Impossible. Movies that have action and adventure and history connected to them. Those are things I like. And one of my sons is studying film and media studies at Arizona State University, so we always have a good excuse to watch films. For a favorite quote, I've got lots of quotes I like, but one that I keep coming back to is one called says, a person's mind, once stretched by a new idea, will never return to its original dimension. And that has been attributed to a few people. So as far as where you can go to find me, well, you're already on my YouTube channel. This is a great place to watch the podcast. My website, paulgraf.remax.com. Email is paulgraf@remax.net. And my phone number is 425-205-8810. As far as publications go, I have a daily blog post, which goes out on social media. And I send out a weekly newsletter just through email. I also have a mailer, which goes out to 15,000 people quarterly. I have an ad in a mailer, Hometown Values Magazine. So those are ways you can get in touch with me. As always, you can always feel free to call or text. So, and if you need referral partners around the country, I want to be the one to connect you. I got plenty of great friends who do real estate almost everywhere, and would love to get you connected to them. If you're in the local Seattle area and you need service providers too, I belong to Business Networking International, and we have great referral partners in there. So if you need flooring or electrical work or plumbing work done, fencing, roofing, whatever, I can get you connected to people who can do that very well. So I hope everybody's doing well this week. Thanks for listening. As always, like and subscribe. I'd love to build up my viewership of these videos and get the word out. And have a fantastic week. And I'll connect with you guys again next week. Take care.